You know that feeling when your brain is just, well, completely fried?
Oh, yeah. Like you have been staring at a screen for 9 hours straight.
Exactly. Your thoughts are just racing, your chest feels all tight, and your head literally feels hot to the touch.
Right. But then, strangely enough, your hands and your feet are freezing cold.
Yes, it is so weird. And when you are in that state, you are essentially experiencing a biological system failure.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, your internal engine is overheating, the coolant just isn't circulating, and you're totally burnt out.
And it is a profoundly modern sensation, or at least, that is how we tend to frame it to ourselves.
Yeah, we blame the blue light from our screens, or we blame the relentless modern work week.
Uh-huh. Or the 24-hour news cycle.
Right. We basically treat it like a glitch in our otherwise healthy modern lifestyle.
But today we are taking a deep dive into a perspective that says this feeling isn't a modern glitch at all.
Not at all.
In fact, it's not even a glitch. It is actually the default setting of the human body.
Which is a wild concept to wrap your head around.
It really is. And we have an incredibly fascinating stack of sources to work through today for you. We are looking at a lecture transcript, along with a set of really intricate accompanying diagrams.
And this is from a Korean new religious movement called Daesun Jinryo, right?
That's right. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore how this text takes the ancient and honestly sometimes abstract concept of yin and yang and applies it to literally everything.
We are talking about astrophysics, human anatomy, the layout of traditional architecture.
And ultimately, like the final destiny of the universe itself. It goes everywhere.
It really does. But, before we jump into the deep end of astrophysics and theology, it is probably important to establish some ground rules for how we are looking at this material today.
Yeah, good call. Go ahead.
Because this lecture transcript contains very specific theological and philosophical viewpoints that are unique to this religious movement.
Right.
And our goal today is not to endorse these beliefs, nor are we here to debate their spiritual validity. Rather, we are going to impartially unpack these concepts.
Exactly. We are using this text as a highly structured, fascinating lens through which we can view universal concepts of balance, human health, and how societies are actually built. Okay, so let's unpack this. Because the core thesis of this text is that the infinite, dizzying complexity of yin and yang can actually be understood through the incredibly simple, everyday mechanics of two elements.
And those are water and fire.
Right.
The text argues that to truly understand the mechanics of the universe, you don't start with abstract philosophy, you actually have to start with physics.
I love that approach.
Yeah. Water and fire are presented as the ultimate tangible proxies for yin and yang. So fire, which represents yang energy, is characterized by expansion, heat, light, and outward divergence.
Like an explosion.
Exactly. In the source material, they explicitly compare the cosmic movement of fire to the Big Bang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an explosive, violent, outward scattering of energy that creates space and time.
Okay, and on the flip side of that, you have water, which represents yin. So water is all about contraction, unity, gathering together, and cooling down.
Right.
And the text actually compares the cosmic movement of water to the Big Crunch.
Which is terrifying, but fascinating.
It is that theoretical physics concept where the universe eventually just exhausts its outward expansion, stops, and then violently contracts back in on itself into a single point.
So on a macro level, the text paints this picture of the universe as a continuous, massive respiration of water and fire.
Like breathing in and out.
Exactly. An endless cycle of the Big Bang and the Big Crunch. But what is so compelling is how the text insists that this exact same massive cosmic dynamic governs the micro level too.
Right down to your mundane evening routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the text brings this down to earth, the great everyday example. It talks about the popularity of the half bath.
Oh, right. Or what he's called banshin-yok in Korean.
Yes. This is a practice where you sit in a tub with just your lower body submerged in hot water, while your upper body is completely exposed to the cool air.
And the text also points to a daily health practice called yin-yang water, or iyum-yang tang.
Which I actually tried. I tried to make this yin-yang water this morning before we started recording.
Oh, really? How did that go for you?
Let me tell you, if you pour it the wrong way, you do not get a cosmic engine of vitality. You just get a profoundly disappointing mug of lukewarm water.
Well, yeah, because the mechanics of pouring it are entirely the point. You don't just mix hot and cold water randomly and expect a magical result.
Right. You have to pour the boiling hot water into your cup first, and then you pour the cold water in directly on top of it.
Right, because there is a Very basic, undeniable law of thermodynamics at play here that makes this work.
Exactly. Think of a hot air balloon.
Okay.
The burner heats the air, the molecules expand, and that heat naturally wants to rise.
Hmm.
But cold air, being denser, naturally wants to sink.
Right, that makes sense.
So if you put the cold water on top of the hot water in a glass, what happens? The hot water at the bottom fights to push its way up, and the cold water at the top fights to sink down.
Oh, so it creates a current.
Yes. It creates this vigorous, invisible, continuous loop of circulation in the glass.
Hmm.
And the text argues that this exact dynamic of circulation is the fundamental blueprint for a healthy existence.
And, conversely, consider what happens if you reverse that process. If you pour the hot water on top of the cold water, nothing happens at all.
It just sits there.
Exactly. The hot water is perfectly buoyant and happy staying at the top, and the dense cold water is perfectly happy stagnating at the bottom.
Right.
The energies separate entirely, and you get a dead system. And this simple rule of fluid dynamics leads directly into the central problem the text identifies with our natural human anatomy.
And this is where the text gets slightly terrifying, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it points out that the human body is biologically set up in that exact stagnant, wrong configuration. We are walking around as dead systems.
So, according to this framework, yeah. The biological default of a human being is fundamentally flawed from birth.
Okay, break that down for us.
So, in the human body, the heart represents fire, or yang energy. And geometrically speaking, the heart is located high up in the chest.
Right.
The kidneys, on the other hand, represent water, or yin energy, and they are located much lower down, nestled near the lower spine.
So we are essentially walking around with fire permanently installed on top and water permanently installed on the bottom.
Exactly.
And just like we talked about with that failed cup of water, this is a recipe for biological disaster.
It really is.
Because the fire in our heart naturally wants to rise. That heat shoots straight up into our chest, our neck, and our heads.
Right, and the text calls this siyamiol, which translates to a hot upper body.
Okay. And meanwhile, that heavy water energy from the kidneys just sinks further down into our legs, causing hahan, or a cold lower body.
So the energies are literally pulling apart from each other.
Leaving the middle totally empty.
Yeah, and the consequences of this biological stagnation are severe. The text warns that when fire and water disconnect like this, communication within the body basically ceases. The physical body begins to break down, leading to myriad physical illnesses. But even more pressingly, it leads to severe mental and emotional distress.
They use this incredibly evocative term from Eastern asceticism in the lecture for this. It is juhua ma.
Yuat ma.
Yeah. It translates roughly to fire runs wild and invites demons.
That is quite the visual.
Right.
Yeah.
But it perfectly describes that burnout feeling we talked about at the top of the show. It's when the unmitigated heat in your head causes a total physical and mental breakdown.
So today, we might diagnose that as severe clinical depression, a nervous breakdown, or a panic disorder.
Exactly. They also use the phrase ju zhou qiu peng, meaning the flow of your qi, your vital energy, snaps completely. It invites the wind of sudden illness.
Something akin to a stroke, maybe.
Right. But, okay, hold on. I'm struggling with the logic here.
What do you mean?
So what does this all mean? If heaven or nature or evolution or whatever cosmic force designed us made us this way, why install the engine backward in the first place? It feels like a massive design flaw to build us to naturally overheat and break down.
Well, that is actually the philosophical crux of the entire text.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It argues that this biological flaw is not a mistake or an accident at all. It is a highly intentional divine challenge.
An intentional challenge. Okay.
There is a proverb quoted by the lecturer that sums this up beautifully. God gave humans teeth, but did not give them bread.
Oh, I like that. So the raw materials and the tools are provided, but the finished product requires human exertion.
Exactly. The text argues that humans were given this difficult, contradictory biological setup precisely so that we are forced to exert effort.
We have to work for it.
Right. We have to overcome this internal friction, and through that very struggle, we develop the profound wisdom necessary to manually harmonize these forces ourselves.
So we aren't born complete.
No, we are born with a mandate to complete ourselves.
I really love that framing. It turns burnout from a failure into like a biological puzzle. We essentially have to hack our own biology.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
And the text provides the exact blueprint for this hack. It introduces a core concept called susum huagang, which literally translates to water up, fire down.
The objective is to manually override the natural flow of your anatomy.
Okay, how do we do that?
You must pull the cool, grounding water energy up from the kidneys to the crown of the head, a specific acupressure point called Baco.
Okay.
And simultaneously, you must push the hot, volatile fire energy down from the heart to the base of the torso, a point called Huyam.
Okay, think of your brain like a high-powered computer CPU.
Oh, good analogy.
Right. A CPU generates a massive amount of heat just by running its normal everyday processes. If you don't have a cooling fan constantly running over it or thermal paste drawing the heat away, the motherboard just fries.
It literally melts down.
Exactly. And our brains operate the exact same way. We need to manually pump that cooling water energy up to the crown of the head to keep the CPU from melting down.
Right.
But what is the thermal paste in this biological computer? Like, how do we actually do this?
Well, achieving Susong Kwagang is incredibly difficult because you are constantly fighting biological gravity.
That makes sense.
But the text outlines a few methods. The absolute baseline rule before you even attempt anything else is do not get angry.
Wow. Simple, but not easy.
Right. Because anger acts as a massive accelerant. It actively forces that fire energy right back up into your head, instantly undoing all your internal effort.
It's like overclocking the CPU while the fan is broken. You are just adding literal heat to the brain.
Exactly. So beyond simply managing your temper, the text discusses highly active methods like Danjan breathing.
Okay, what is that?
This involves intensely focused, deep lower abdominal breathing designed to manually force the qi to circulate. However, the lecturer is very quick to admit this is notoriously difficult to master.
I can imagine.
In fact, if done incorrectly, trying to force the energy through sheer willpower can actually trigger the very jo-up ma, the fire running wild that you are trying to prevent.
Right. The lecturer notes that amateur breathing exercises can just make you dizzy, sick, or heighten your anxiety.
Which is the exact opposite of what you want.
So the text introduces a much more accessible method utilized within Daesun Jinriho, and that is the chanting of a specific mantra called the DJU.
Okay.
The claim in the source is that chanting this mantra naturally and safely facilitates that water up, fire down circulation without the risky mental gymnastics of advanced breathing.
But how does saying words out loud actually cool the body down?
Right. Well, we can actually look at the biological mechanism behind this.
Okay.
While the text approaches it theologically, modern biology tells us that producing a continuous, low-frequency vocal resonance, like chanting a mantra, physically vibrates the chest cavity.
And that does what?
It directly stimulates the vagus nerve.
Oh, wow. The vagus nerve is the main component of the parasympathetic nervous system, right?
Exactly. The part that controls your rest and digest functions.
So stimulating it literally lowers your heart rate.
Yes. It decreases cortisol levels and physically cools the body down. The theology of the mantra perfectly mirrors the biological mechanism of calming the nervous system.
That is fascinating. The ancient spiritual hack is actually a biological trigger.
It totally is. But this struggle to place water over fire, to pull the cooling energy up and ground the fiery energy down, it isn't just something happening silently inside our bodies.
No, it isn't.
The source material reveals that this exact concept is physically constructed into the external world around us.
Yeah, the lecture takes a remarkable turn here. It moves from internal anatomy to external structures.
Let's get into it.
It invites us to examine the architecture of traditional sacred spaces, specifically traditional Buddhist temples in Korea.
Okay, paint a picture for us.
When you walk into one of these temple courtyards, you will usually find a large pavilion housing two massive, intricate instruments used for rituals, a drum and a bell.
And the text breaks down the deep symbolism of the sound these instruments make.
Right.
The drum produces short, aggressive, percussive, rhythmic beats. It feels like a marching army pounding in your chest.
Which is very yang.
Yes, that sound is pure yang. It is fire. The bell, on the other hand, produces a long, continuous, deep, carrying resonance that seems to sink into the ground and calm the air.
And that sound is pure yin. It is water.
Okay, now I want to hand this back to you because how these two instruments are physically arranged in traditional temple pavilions, known as jongogek, is very specific.
Okay, well, let's look at the traditional layout. In a standard two-story pavilion, the drum, the fire element, is placed on the upper floor.
Okay.
And the massive bronze bell of water element is placed on the lower floor.
Wait, hold on. I'm picturing this. So you're telling me traditional Buddhist architecture was built upside down on purpose?
Yeah.
Why would they build a sacred space to broadcast a flawed, stagnant system?
What's fascinating here is that the text argues this wasn't an accident. For thousands of years, this architectural choice has silently broadcasted the actual state of the universe to anyone who walked onto the temple ground.
Oh, wow. Think about the psychological impact of that.
Exactly. It is a physical representation of humanity's unresolved tension, of our collective suffering. It is a monument to fire over water,
Yeah.
the heat rising, the cold sinking.
But then the lecture points to Daesun Junriho's own temple complexes, specifically their headquarters in Yeoju and a secondary complex in Pocheon.
Right.
And if you look at the photos of their pavilions in the source material, the arrangement is deliberately, shockingly reversed.
Reversed. How so?
The massive bronze bell, the water element, is hoisted all the way up to the top floor, and the drum, the fire element, is grounded on the bottom floor.
Ah. And the lecture emphasizes that this reversal is not merely an aesthetic choice or a desire to stand out from older traditions.
It's a statement.
A profound physical declaration of their core theology. By placing water over fire in their architecture, they are visually signaling that the world is actively transitioning out of its flawed, incomplete past.
They are architecturally declaring the arrival of a perfected, harmonious future where the energies of the universe are finally circulating correctly.
So Daesun Jinryo is literally building their hope for the future into their temple architecture.
Yeah. But how do they know this cosmic transition is coming? Like, how do you map a universal shift like that?
The source relies on a philosophical blueprint that is thousands of years old.
And here's where it gets really interesting for you listening. It brings us to the I Ching, or the Book of Changes.
Yes. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese divination text. It attempts to map out every conceivable state of the universe using 64 hexagrams.
And just to clarify, a hexagram is essentially a symbol made of 6 stacked lines, right?
Correct. Some lines are solid, representing yang, and some are broken, representing yin.
Got it.
It is widely considered one of the most complex, nuanced philosophical texts in human history.
But the lecturer basically gives us the ultimate spoiler for the I Ching. You don't actually need to memorize all 64 intricate hexagrams to understand the core message of the universe.
No, you really don't.
You just need to look at the very end of the book. The final hexagram, hexagram 64, is called Hosumije.
Which literally translates to fire over water, incomplete.
Right. It represents a universe that is flawed, a sea of suffering where the energies are pulling apart and failing to connect.
But the hexagram right before it, hexagram 63, is Suwakije. Water over fire, complete.
Okay, so that one represents a finalized, harmonious universe where the energies endlessly circulate, constantly nourishing and balancing each other.
Exactly.
Wait, so the entire book ends on the incomplete hexagram? That feels like ending a movie on a massive cliffhanger.
It does, and the text argues this is entirely intentional. The I Ching was written for the era we are living in now.
Which is still flawed.
Deeply flawed, conflicted, and unresolved. The entire timeline of human history, with all its wars, societal suffering, and biological decay, has existed within the stagnant energy of hexagram 64.
Ah. But the Daesun Junriho text asserts that we are currently standing at the great cosmic turning point.
Right. We are stepping backward, in a sense, from the chaos of hexagram 64 into the profound perfection of hexagram 63.
Okay, I'm looking at the diagrams of the hexagrams in the source right now, and there's something else the lecturer focuses on that feels completely backwards to me.
What's that?
It involves the symbols for heaven and earth. So heaven is yang, earth is yin.
Right.
But it says placing heaven above earth in a hexagram is a bad thing. I mean, look out a window. Heaven is literally above earth. How is that wrong?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the exact same paradox as the cup of yin-yang water.
Okay, how so?
Heaven is pure yang energy. Its natural physical tendency is to rise endlessly upward. Earth is pure yin energy. Its natural tendency is to sink downward.
Okay, I'm tracking.
If you stack heaven above earth, a hex word called Qianji Biguai, the forces pull in opposite directions, creating a massive void in the middle.
Oh, because they are moving away from each other.
Yes. The text describes this state as blocked or disconnected.
For you listening, this isn't just ancient divination. This is why your workplace feels incredibly toxic when executive management is completely disconnected from the junior employees.
That is a perfect modern analogy.
Right. The executives float to the top floor, the entry-level workers sink to the basement, and no communication happens in the middle. It's hexagram 64 in real life. It is the architectural diagram of extreme polarization.
It is the definition of societal stagnation. But if you invert them, if you place earth above heaven, a hexagram called Jishian Teguai, The dynamics change entirely.
Because Earth naturally wants to sink, and heaven naturally wants to rise.
Exactly. They move toward each other. They intertwine and communicate.
Oh, wow.
The text translates this inverted hexagram as representing great peace, profound harmony, and a massive inclusive scale of existence.
And the lecturer makes sure to point out that this isn't just abstract line art meant for contemplation. He explicitly connects this to how we must physically behave to fix society.
Right. It's a call to action.
If we want to achieve this water over fire, earth over heaven harmony in our actual lives, it requires a radical mechanical shift in social dynamics.
What kind of shift?
The text explicitly states that those who are weak, poor, or marginalized, the yin of society, must be actively elevated and respected by the collective.
Oh.
Meanwhile, those who are strong, proud, privileged, or aristocratic, the yang, must learn to manually lower themselves and serve.
So it functions as a theological mandate for social equity.
Exactly.
The text claims that only by aggressively discarding entrenched hierarchies and actively treating the lowly with immense, genuine respect can the collective grievances of humanity be resolved.
So it is not just about passive charity.
No, it is about fundamentally reversing the energetic flow of power in society, forcing the heat of privilege downward to warm the cold of marginalization, thereby creating a healthy, circulating societal engine.
It is honestly incredible how consistent the logic is across all these drastically different scales.
It really ties everything together.
We started this deep dive with a simple cup of yin-yang water, hot on the bottom, cold on top, circulating perfectly. And that exact same blueprint dictates how we should breathe to keep our brains from frying under modern stress, how we should arrange the bells and drums in our sacred spaces, and how we must fundamentally restructure human society to prevent a collapse.
It all comes back to having the courage and the wisdom to reverse the default setting.
The overarching narrative of the source material is one of active, required participation. Harmony is not a natural state you just stumble into.
Definitely not. Left to our own devices, our bodies overheat, our societies polarize, and our universe remains incomplete.
We are fundamentally required to provide the effort, the Susung Hua Gang, to pull the water up and push the fire down.
So, as you go about the rest of your day, I want you to take a moment to reflect on your own internal engine.
Where is your energy pooling right now? Are you letting the fire of stress, anger, and anxiety rise uninhibited into your head, burning out your CPU?
Or are you actively finding ways to cool your mind, ground your energy, and pull that water upward?
Which raises an important question and perhaps a final thought to mull over after you take off your headphones.
If our biology and our societies are constructed with this natural, flawed default, a gravity that constantly pulls us toward disconnection and chaos, what if those flaws aren't a mistake to be angry about?
Right.
What if the universe specifically designed us to be broken, precisely so that we could discover the profound wisdom and empathy required to put ourselves and each other back together?
Keep the coolant running. Catch you on the next deep dive.